Today we're sitting here with Chris Bisnett, the CTO of Huntress. Chris, I have a few questions for you as we're sitting here enjoying open house. Huntress is an interesting company. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you guys do and what inspired you guys to use ClickHouse?
Yeah, so Huntress provides a fully managed security platform for companies that maybe don't have a 24/7 SOC. Maybe they've got a few security people, but they need to have somebody look at all that data. They need to have somebody hunting on it, somebody identifying malicious activity. And so to do that, we need to be able to gather a lot of data. And we looked at a lot of different solutions, whether it was Postgres or some of these other, infinite kind of size databases. And for us, the combination of features and functionality that we needed and the reduced cost that we could get from ClickHouse just made it all worthwhile. So a lot of the other solutions we looked at were just significantly more expensive to do the same type of thing.
That's fascinating. When you think about cybersecurity, you usually think about the enterprise and sort of the largest customers in the world that most folks go after when they're building these solutions. What inspired you guys to build Huntress and go after the target audience that you guys typically go after?
Yeah, it's interesting because when we started the company in 2015, we had to figure out how were we going to make money, who were we going to sell it to, and when we looked at folks like SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, and all of our other competitors, they had multi-year head starts on us in terms of their roadmap and building out products. They had much larger marketing funds than we did. They already had existing footprints, in these customers. And so it really, looking at it, it was daunting. Like, how are we going to ever compete with them? We're three people with no product yet, no money. Like, this is crazy, right? So we started to ask the question of who are they not selling to and why? Why are they not selling to them? And ultimately, we found that there's a security poverty line somewhere in there, somewhere around the Fortune 1000, where folks below it don't have the talent, they don't have the spend to maintain and build 24/7 teams. And so they're looking for somebody else to take on the majority of that security work. They need somebody to be there collecting the data, to be the security expert, to look at their data 24/7 and just send them alerts if something bad happens so that they can then take action and understand what has happened. At the time was a significantly underserved portion of the market. And, we started selling to them and doing all of that. And it just kind of took off from there.
That's fantastic. How did ClickHouse enable you guys through this journey as you were building, right? Like, I feel like when I work with all my customers, you typically don't want to focus on the data part of the product. You need something that just works. So, like, how did ClickHouse influence you guys?
Yeah, I think it's very much the same. Like, our customers don't necessarily care what we build on or how it works. They want that outcome. They want to make sure that they're not going to show up on Monday and find that all their systems are ransomed. And so we also look to do similar things. Like, how can we have a system that mostly just works so we're not having to be there and tweak it and tune it and all that kind of stuff all the time? And ClickHouse really does that for us. Like, it just goes, especially with ClickHouse Cloud. A lot of people go back and forth of, should I run it myself? It'll be cheaper, all of that. But the amount of time you have to then put into things like high availability and backups and all that kind of stuff, it's just, there's so much effort there. And maybe you get to that later, but my recommendation to people is like, just start on the cloud. You click a couple of buttons, it's going for you, and then you can figure out what you need later.
That's awesome. That's that's so great to hear. Look, we're sitting here at Open House. It's the first inaugural Open House open source conference for ClickHouse itself. It's been a fantastic day. I know we're only, I think, partially through the day, not even halfway at this point. What's been your favorite announcement so far? Your favorite talks that have come through so far?
I think some of the stuff around data warehousing, data lake, the optimized joins and things like that. Some of our data engineering team has been asking, hey, could we, migrate over to ClickHouse and could we have more of our data there? So being able to use things like the PeerDB functionality to have Postgres automatically send data over into ClickHouse for reference tables, for them to be able to then generate queries on top of that for a lot of our business intelligence stuff that we do today with DBT. I think it would be great. And we've seen a lot of cost savings with other things. I imagine we'll see cost savings for those kind of workloads as well.
You just referenced data lakes as one of your favorite features. Where do you see data lakes going? It's been a hot topic in the industry so far. Yeah. And I feel like we're really pushing the charge as far as like being able to work with all the different catalogs and all the different providers out there. But like, where do you guys see yourselves going with the data lakes?
For us, it's been kind of one of those let's wait and see. So we looked into it. We were really excited about it, especially a lot of the team was really excited about Iceberg and what it could do and it could mean for us. But as we looked into it more, figuring out how to set up a catalog, what was the infrastructure required to run it, how much was all that going to cost, it started to just get really complex. And then we had to take a step back and say, okay, do we really need this right now? Like, it's a cool thing from a technical perspective, but do we really need it now? For us, the answer was no, not at that time. So we're going to continue to look at it and see where it goes and see what happens. But for us, it's kind of a wait and see.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I've seen some folks that have adopted it early and now some folks that are starting to adopt it later. I guess the next hot topic is obviously AI and ML. We announced our MCP server.
Yeah.
You guys have any integrations going on with in the AI space right now?
So it's really good timing for us. So we've been playing around with some AI stuff internally, trying to figure out how can we use AI to better enable our SOC analysts. Right now, to find some data, they have to click through multiple windows, do different searches, all that kind of stuff. We've played around with some proof of concepts internally that expose some of that MCP functionality so that they could talk to an LLM and ask it questions, and it can then go and fetch, data from our internal database about what's on the machine and what we've seen and all of that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that we've been thinking is how do we then connect that even further into ClickHouse to get at some of that log data and all of that. So the fact that you guys just released the MCP server is just really great timing for us. So I imagine we'll play more with that.
I love to hear that. So why don't we end this with a little bit of a therapy session? Sure. What else is on your mind, right, that maybe you want to discuss here and with other folks that are probably going to be watching this?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like how do you scale? How do you scale the company? How do you scale your ability to ingest data, right? And I think that's always a concern for people on the tech side, right? Assuming that sales and marketing and the business does well and they bring in more customers, you're always looking at like, hey, is our platform going to fall over? Are we going to start to have all this success only for suddenly there's lots of pain because things don't work and people are upset and that tarnishes our reputation and all of that. So, that's always a question that I have and that I'm worried about is like what's going to break next. Always trying to understand what's out there, what improvements are made. I love coming to things like this where I can talk to other people who are maybe further along in their journey, maybe have more data, maybe have more customers, and just see like, hey, what problems did you run into? How did you either solve them or work around them? Trying to get some of that insight, almost like looking into a crystal ball of like, what can I expect next?
Well, thanks for that, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
As always, good seeing you.
Yeah, likewise.